Today we're going to look at combining a couple of different products with some stamps. I have the Sentimentally Yours Dandelions Medley from the Floramusica collection on my stamp press, and I have a piece of Sentimentally Yours Fabulous Fuchsia card, and I've dusted this with an anti-static bag because I'm going to be embossing, and I've got it in my stamp press. So I'm going to start by inking up my dandelion stamp with my Nocturne Versifying Clair. So Nocturne Versifying Clair is my black ink pad of choice nowadays. It's easy to hold, it's juicy, it embosses really well, it shows all the detail of the stamp up beautifully. I may be needing another one, but that is why I'm inking it really well, as I've been using this one for about 6 weeks now. Obviously I do quite a lot of stamping. Okay, I think that's inked. And then we're going to pop it onto our Fabulous Fuchsia card and give it a really good press. These medley stamps are absolutely tremendous. There's so much detail in them. You'll see something different every single time when you look into them. You can add to them as well with some texture stamps, which are also in the Sentimentally Yours range. You can expand the image, you can use them in journals, you can just pick out certain areas and die cut them. There's so many different things you can do with these stamps. Let's see how we're doing. I think I'm a little bit dry, so I'm going to just add a little bit more detail to the actual dandelions themselves. I'm very tight with my ink pads. I don't replace them until I have to, but then in the meantime I put myself through so much extra work having to restamp all the time. That's beautiful. Okay, so we're going to add our embossing powder to this, and I'm using the Sentimentally Yours Superfine Crystal Clear embossing powder. Catch it in a piece of paper. Okay. Right, so we're not going to actually heat set it just yet because there's something else we're going to do with it. Put that back in the pot. Now, all of the Sentimentally Yours embossing powders are anti-static powders in an anti-static pot, so you also always need to put them back in their original pot. Right, now we're going to stamp over the top of it before we heat set it, and we're going to be using the Cracked Broken Lattice background, and this is a rubber background. It doesn't have to be a rubber background, it could be another clear background, but I want this one because it's fairly open, but there's lots of detail in it as well. So you've got kind of two backgrounds in one here, and I'm using a Sentimentally Yours acrylic block as well, which fits perfectly for the stamp. And what we're going to use is we're going to use some Pentart Expand Paste, which is an absolutely brilliant product. It's quite runny. We need to pop some onto craft sheet. And you can colour this with pigments. Pentart do some pigments, which are highly concentrated. Let's just see whether we've got enough here. I'm using a little tiny can of sponge dauber. You can just use cut and dry. And we're going to add this all over our stamp. Lots of tapping. Don't worry about it going in the recesses because this is deeply etched, made by Indigo Blue for Sentimentally Yours. Okay. Let's give that a wipe before I stick something in it. And now we're going to stamp over the top of our stamped image. It's a little bit smaller, but you could, that's great because you can see where you're going with it. Give it a good old press. and off it comes. Now we've got on here, I don't know what we're going to get out of it. We've got on there some, still got some expand paste, and we picked some embossing powder up as well. So what we're going to do is just, while it's on my stamp, I'm just going to stamp a second time, and we'll see what we get. We might not get anything, but it's worth a go. So you can't see anything at the moment. That could be that we just haven't got anything, or we might have, I don't know. So you can see here where the expand paste has actually, you can see the darker areas there. Now we have to wait for the expand paste to dry before we can actually heat emboss our embossing powder. So we'll come back in a few minutes when it's actually dry, and then we'll do the next stage, and we'll see if we've got anything here. Right, so we're going to have a go at heating this now. My expand paste is nice and dry, and don't forget we've got embossing powder and expand paste on here. Apologies for the noise, but you do need to see it go rather than me just show you the end result. So remember, we've stamped in black and we've added clear embossing powder on. So our stamped image is in black, but look, we've got some white specks coming in as well, and the white is the expand paste. Which I think is really cool. It's really nice to have the two different things going on. And you do need to do it this way, I think. I've had a few different attempts. If you do it this way, then the embossing powder isn't going to overcook and go flat. It's going to still stay glossy. I mean, obviously, because we're dealing with the expand paste, we are dealing with a very fine, detailed stamp in the crack broken lattice. I'm still going over it here, trying to make sure we've got all the little bits. It's only a suggestion of an extra background in there, but it's extra detail that we didn't have before. Where the expand paste has hit the embossing powder, it's removed the embossing powder, and so we haven't got it glossy there, we've just got it black. Let's see if we've got it all. I think we have. So I could probably have done with pressing a little bit harder just here, but you know, you wouldn't get this kind of, I don't know, uniformity of design. I know it's not completely uniform because there's bits missing, but if you just stamp lots of different images, you could do that with lots of different images, but I do quite like the fact that you just get the one shot at it. I quite like that with the black, the fuchsia and the white. That's definitely, I've done 3 of these so far, and this is definitely the better one. So should we have a look, see if we've got anything on here? I don't know whether we're going to have anything, but we'll have a look. This could be a complete waste of time. So we've got, can we see where we've got like a watermark going on? Now that's where the embossing powder, which is clear, has been pulled off of the image by the stamping of the expand paste. And so we've just got like little speckles going on. We've still got a little bit of the expand paste on here, not much, but it's something. So what might be interesting would be to actually stamp over the top of this and see what we get, because obviously where the embossing powder is, that's going to be a resist. I'm not sure what the expand paste will do. I don't know if that will resist or not. We have got something going on here. Not a lot, but something. It's the start of a background. So So I'll have a think and I'll come back and we'll make a card out of this one here. So we're going to make our card up with our image that's got the embossing powder on it and also the expand paste. I've gone ahead and I've cut out a Sentimentally Yours Elegant Eyelet rectangle from the image. You can see that I've lost a little bit of the image up there, but I quite like the fact that we've got a bit of the stamped image on the border. That works really well, really like that. And I popped some foam tape on the back and I've cut the next size Elegant Eyelet rectangle out of Sentimentally Yours Elegant Ebony card. So we're going to just mat these up with tape to give them a little bit of dimension. See if I can get this straight, which is always difficult around a camera. Okay, that'll do. And for my backing, I've got a piece of Sentimentally Yours Pure White card, which I've embossed with the classic Flourish embossing folder, which is an 8x8 folder. Now, this folder is suitable for, kind of male, female, Christmas, non-Christmas, everyday, that sort of thing. So it's really good. And I've also glued it to a piece of the Fabulous Fuchsia card, as in my topper, and also Elegant Ebony there. And then I've used some foam tape to put onto a final layer of the Pure White. So this is an 8x8 card, at least it would be if it was a proper card. That's going to go on there, but it's a little bit plain. So what I've done is I've cut the Delightfully Deco borders. So in this set, and you also come on an A4 piece of magnetic sheet now, you get a backer die, so a plain die, and then you get 3 decorative dies which are all going to match perfectly with the backer die, and they are almost 8 inches long, so really good length. And so I've cut the decorative die, one of the decorative dies out of the Fabulous Fuchsia and the backer die out of the Elegant Ebony, and I've just trimmed it ever so slightly so that it's going to be 7.5 inches long to sit on my card nicely. And they've got you see they've got a double deboss line here, and also just on the edges there, so they kind of follow the double deboss theme that Phil Martin with his range at Sentimentally Yours. So we're just going to glue this in place with some Sentimentally Yours glue. All the products I'm using, aside from the Pentart Expand Paste, are available on my website. That's juliawattscrafts.co.uk. Just a little bit along the edge there, and the glue does dry clear, so you don't need to worry too much. And pop this one on here, and the backer is just ever so slightly smaller so that it doesn't show, or shouldn't show, against the decorative one. Good press, and so you can see we've got the beautiful black showing through there. So we're going to put, I've got 2 of these, and we're going to glue these side by side just here, and then we're going to put our topper on there. So glue these in place. We could 3D foam them, but I'm not going to, because then obviously I'm going to have to deal with different levels of 3D foam when I put my topper on. Again, see if I can get that straight. Hopefully, right again against the edge. Just give it a minute or 2 for the glue to grab, because we're going down on an embossed surface here, so it's a little bit bumpy. Okay, then get the other one on. Don't need loads of glue because it's really strong glue. In fact, it grabs quicker if you've got less glue. Put that one up against. When I've trimmed it, I trimmed it both sides, so hopefully I got the lining up as near as I could. Again, give it a press. I mean, they're butted up quite nicely, but you know, we've still got that kind of gap that we can see there. So what I've done is I've cut a fine strip of the pure white card, which I didn't actually trim down, so I ought to have trimmed that down first. So I'm just going to trim that down. This is where I discover I've done it wrong. No good. So that's going to finish that off nicely. Glue that into place. I mean, you could, if you've got, you can get 3mm red line tape, and if you're, that's quite a good one to use for this. But we'll go with the glue and see how we get on. You could of course do the strip a little bit wider. There's no, I've no idea how wide it is, but it's just a thin strip. Let's see if we got that straight. That just finishes it off nicely. Makes it look neat. Then we're going to add we've got our piece there. Let's stamp our sentiment first, just so we get that in the right place. So we're just going to dust this with an anti-static bag. This is another piece, just an off-cut, whatever I've got left of the Fabulous Fuchsia card. And we're going to stamp Many Happy Returns, and this is from the Trio Frame Essential Sentiments, which has got loads of cool sentiments in it, and each sentiment's got kind of 3 frames around it, hence the name Trio Frame. So it's up to you how many frames you cut out with it. I tend to cut all 3 out because I like them. And my Nocturne VersaFine Clay. Remember, this ink stays open quite a long time, so it's ideal for embossing. Give it a good press. Don't be too quick taking your ink off, so that the ink gets a chance to settle into the card. There we go. And we're going to, top of my glue, grab our Sentimentally Yours Super Fine Crystal Clear Embossing Powder. Remember, the powder is anti-static, as is the pot, so always put the powder back in its original pot. Give this a blast. My heat tool's working. Oh, it is. Good. And you see it goes to a beautiful glossy black. See, that's beautifully lovely and glossy. And I've gone ahead and cut it out, and I've cut it out leaving a little tiny border just around the edge as well, so I've got kind of 4 frames going on. And I've popped it onto some tape, so we can now work out our positioning. So let's have that perhaps about there, and we can then pop our sentiment just down the bottom like that. So let's go with that and pop that in place. So again, we've got some foam tape. This is 2mm wood wear foam tape. This is what I tend to go for. Okay, so we're stuck. And see if we can get that straight. Okay. Pop our sentiment on. Obviously you can stay wherever you want it to. So we're trying to line up this line here, make sure that's the straight bit because everything else is wonky. And just to finish off, let's just pop perhaps a few pearls just up in this corner, I think. Yeah, let's do that. In fact, let's do 3 up here, like that. And then we'll do 3 down here as well, this way. And I've got some of the Sentimentally Yours Midnight Sky. I don't sell these on my website. They're only available from Honeypot Crafts, unfortunately, and sometimes they're on Her Chanda, but those are the only places you can get them. So this is a mix of 8 and 5 and 3mm. And I'm going to use my tweezers. Now the tweezers from Sentimentally Yours have 3 different kind of ends to them. They all come with a little case as well, so do keep those. So there's the pointy ones, which are great for shaping your flowers. There's these ones, which I know Phil uses these to pick up his pearls, and then I prefer these ones to pick up my pearls, so whatever you want. So I think we'll go for because it's quite a big card, we go for the 8mm. It's a textured embossed surface, so it's always harder to stick things on the embossed surface. See if we can get these straight. It's all a little bit hit and miss when you're working around a phone. There we go. You do have a little bit of time to move them around. And then we do these 3 down here. One, 2. I mean, these pearls, as you can see, these haven't got glue on the back. I mean, really, when you've got self-adhesive pearls, you end up putting glue on the back anyway, because they don't, either the glue comes off or they don't stick. And it's like an insurance, putting glue on the back. Faff around with these, trying to get them straight. Okay, I think that's done. So there we are. There's our finished card. Hope you've enjoyed that. Don't forget, you can get the products that we've seen aside from the Expand Paste at juliawattscrafts.co.uk. Hope you enjoyed that. Thank you for watching. Bye.